first off, I don't know if you saw, but Liam Neeson said that he wanted to return as Qui-Gon in the Obi-Wan series. So I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about that. Do you think he should?
I think it would be weird if he didn't. Like, I would love that. I'm obsessed with Qui-Gon. He is truly one of my favorite characters. And I feel like it would make sense considering there is such that cliffhanger there with Yoda having that moment with Obi-Wan, and then ending of Revenge of the Sith, he's like, listen, I can force like FaceTime with your deceased master, like, do you want to learn how to do this? And I feel like that is going to be a huge, if Qui-Gon were to be involved, that could be a huge part of the plot.
But to you know, branch off of what Kat was saying, isn't it kind of in the talks that the Disciple series is going to be before Phantom?
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't we see more of him there too, or is it just going to solely be like
I think
like
that
Palpatine and?
I think that takes place like well before the
like a long time, like
I think 100 years at least.
Oh, so not like, I heard it was like gonna be like 20 years or 15 years or something.
That would be
Which
cool.
would be cool.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like 100. Okay.
I think so.
Like kind of Old Republic, but really not quite.
Like High Republic, I think.
I agree though. Like I think that Qui-Gon being a Force ghost and you know, just kind of maybe even diving more deep into kind of what he thought the Chosen One idea meant. Maybe it isn't what the prophecy was kind of implying. Maybe the prophecy was really, you know, more subjective based off of how you viewed things, which is kind of how I think the Jedi Order in general kind of is. It's kind of like either you're part of the cult or you're on the outside in line realizing how much corrupt, awful, you know, whatever you want to call it is. I think that him saying that I believed Anakin was actually going to bring balance by killing all the Jedi would be really funny. It would mean that like he kind of knew all along that, you know, as much as I love these peeps, they all got to die.
Yeah. But now Zach, I know you would definitely know the answer to this. Isn't it kind of confirmed that Qui-Gon, as the kind of OG Force ghost, he wasn't able to breach the physical realm? Like, can he only communicate through his voice? Like, I think I've heard that.
Yeah, so like a lot of people have been saying like, oh, he should come back as a Force ghost, but you're right, like he can't. He said in the Clone Wars, because Yoda asks him like, can you like manifest? And he's like, no, my training was incomplete. So he can't. It would only be a voice that we'd hear, which would be easier for them to do. And no, I totally agree. Like you were saying, Kat, like they kind of threw up the alley-oop in the Revenge of the Sith, where it's like, oh, you know, Qui-Gon, you can talk to him now. It would be weird if they never did that.
Yeah, exactly. Like a missed opportunity.
And also, something that Alex said was like interesting. Like Obi-Wan kind of might resent Qui-Gon a little bit for kind of like getting the Jedi started on the path to destruction by bringing Anakin into the fold.
You know, it's almost weirdly like Dumbledore and Harry in a way.
A little bit.
You know, like the way like
Dumbledore. I heard double door.
The double doors.
Dusseldorf, Germany. I think there's kind of a weird like Harry thought he knew what he meant, but really he didn't at all, and there was just kind of,
you're
like
totally right.
A darker play at hand, and then he's just kind of like, wow, all along, like my master kind of knew that I was gonna die or something, and that I had to die, or that there was like another plan that I didn't think. Like he told me the chosen one thing meant this, but really it meant that this whole time, and I'm here like, you know, in a melancholic isolation, like, you know, tormented by my demons. Like that was his plan, that asshole.
Yeah.
Like,
you know? And
that's a fantastic point, because I think that would even like flesh Qui-Gon out a bit more, because in Harry Potter, like you said, I felt that Dumbledore became like such more of an interesting character when you kind of peel back the layers and found out that like, oh, he knew this was going to happen, and he kind of sacrificed Harry and a bunch of other people to stop Voldemort. Like, it was just, if that happens with Qui-Gon, I think that makes him immediately even more interesting than he already is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
But I think it would also just lend itself to like Obi-Wan needs something to hold on to at this point, And I feel like having that affirmation, like you gotta hang in there, coming from Qui-Gon, his master, and this was his, foresight all along. Like Anakin is the chosen one. Like you just gotta, we have to wait a little bit, like push through. And I mean, to bring it into like Rebels a little bit, I believe in Darth Maul's death v Obi-Wan v Darth Maul Rebels, rest in peace my mans. But I firmly have always interpreted that, him asking Obi-Wan, is he the chosen one? I truly believe he is still saying that in regards to Anakin Skywalker. Like I've never even interpreted it as like Luke before. I know that's such like a divisive this whole scene and debate there that turned into, but I feel like Obi-Wan needs something to reassure him. Like he can't be like, he's got to be so shattered and torn, like following Order 66, Revenge of the Sith, and like sure he has Luke to look to now to try to like, make sure he's all right. Like he has something to live for, but it's also like, I feel like he on his own would not be able to come to the conclusion and really feel affirmed. Like, yes, even after all of this, even after Anakin's betrayal and everything, he is still going to be the chosen one who does eventually bring like balance to the Force. I feel like he needs Qui-Gon as his master at that point to like come into his head and like speak to him and like get him through that. I don't know. I feel like he would not be able to, in the state that he's in, like he wouldn't be able to come to that conclusion on his own, I don't think, unless Qui-Gon chimes in to really like confirm, like, you gotta just wait it out. Like I know it's ugly, but you have to give it a second.
Because like right now he's like literally like the perfect Jedi in his like will to just keep on going. And I think that to show like a little bit of humanity and like just a little bit more like, he's like, I think less relatable in a way. The fact that he's able to just keep on moving on over things over and over again. So I think adding that kind of bit of humanity will make people like Obi-Wan even more. I also think that, the fact that Star Wars itself is already like, it's such an in-depth kind of, psychoanalysis and philosophical like series and whatever. Like, it's just like, there's so much depth going on about all sorts of different outlooks on life and everything, that the very idea that Qui-Gon is kind of now like a Dumbledore figure to, Harry, the way like, whatever. I just think that would be a really cool kind of more like just more lore and just more character development for Star Wars in general. Like it would make the whole like, first 6 films, like, everyone thinks that, he brought balance by killing Sidious when really, he already brought balance by destroying the Order. It was just, it was more like him finding himself again and saving Luke and family. It's more about family at that point, less than about the prophecy, which, I don't know. Like, it's just, there's so many different ways to look at Star Wars. So I think that would just add another kind of layer.
Yeah, I mean, I fully expect to see a broken Obi-Wan, at least at first, in the series. Because why wouldn't he be? Like you said, it would be insane. It would be unnatural if he were just to shake off the destruction of like everything he knew without like an issue and just be like, well, I just have to look after Luke and keep on keeping on. Like, he's gonna have to be broken like anybody would. And so that's what I expect to see. And I like Liam Neeson said that he hadn't been contacted by Lucasfilm yet. I don't believe him because that's what Ewan McGregor said like all these years when people would ask him if he was going to play Obi-Wan again. And he said like, no, Lucasfilm hasn't talked to me, but I would love to. So I see some parallels between that. I think that they've definitely, it's a no-brainer. Like it's a no-brainer to have him back.
Mm-hmm. I'll be disappointed if they don't, but I agree completely. Not that I want to see Ewan McGregor suffering at all, but it truly would be like, you can let your guard down now, Obi-Wan, like especially now that he's in isolation. He doesn't have to like uphold his, kind of strength and demeanor and like wisdom to try to like pull through for anyone. Like he is gonna be total like by himself, just chilling. And like Alex has said, like he's just had like one punch to the gut after another, like losing his master, losing Satine, losing his Padawan, losing his entire livelihood, the Jedi Order. Like at this point, it's like, how much more can you take before we actually see him like break down a little bit? Like not that I want to like see him like sobbing in the desert, but I just want to see, I think that would bring more depth to his character. Like, yeah, show us your little piece of humanity and like you're losing it at this point. Like I want to see that.
I mean, like not only mentally, but physically too. He's taken a lot, and it's just like, dude, it's okay. It's okay to like vent. You know?
Yes.
Dude, no wonder he looks like he's 60.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made him age. He's just holding it all.
Bottled it up.
Yeah.
A little
Exactly.
Qui-Gon therapy.
How long do you think it'll take for him to like whip out his lightsaber in the series? Because I feel like it might kind of be like I'm trying to find a comparison, but like, you know how sometimes when they bring a character back after a long time and they've suffered a tragedy, they're like hesitant to go back to something that they once used all the time. I think that could happen with Obi-Wan and his lightsaber. I think that could be like symbolic of him kind of returning to the path that Qui-Gon and Yoda set him on. So how long do you think it would take for him to use the lightsaber? He probably has it in a box in his hut somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah, so I just
Kinda
think that's
like
going to be a character struggle for him.
Yeah, like the Jamie Costa fan film, I think touches on that a little bit. He's got his like lightsaber stored away and he like goes to open it a couple times, but he like can't bring himself to. I think you're right.
Or if he touches Anakin's saber and flashbacks ensue.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
whoa. Forgot about that. He's got not only his own, but Anakin's also. Yeah, it's exciting. Does he just like, he probably just like buries that one in the sand. He's like, I can't even have this in my peripheral vision. Like I wonder if he even just like has that out to like torture himself to like just look at, or if he like completely has to hide it until the time is right.
I just wonder if we're gonna see Satine too. I think Satine flashbacks would be really cool.
Dude, they just need to make a freaking movie set in the Clone Wars, like with all like with Hayden, with Ewan, and like it can just be something isolated that doesn't really
like somewhere in the middle where like it kind of shows everything.
Yeah,
you know, in one movie. Yeah,
God, that would be amazing. I'd probably cry. I feel like they're learning that everybody doesn't hate the prequels anymore, because that was initially like their approach when they started making the sequels. They thought that the prequels were like the plague and they like everyone hated them, but I feel like that'd make a lot of money maybe if they did that. I don't think they will by any means, but I think it would sell. It would certainly sell.
I agree 100%. Even exactly like if you're right, like if it was like the Clone Wars movie that we got there, like that's its all entirely own thing, perfectly, you know, suffices as a start to finish movie. Could totally just be an individual mission or something, but I feel like that's a fantasy. But heck, all of the shows and stuff they've announced, and seeing like live action Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, like at this point, I'm like, okay, we're getting a Kenobi show. Like all these things that we have wanted to see for a while are kind of coming true. So maybe it's like not too much to wish for at this point. Like
the wait for the Kenobi show has been agonizing, like especially before they announced it, because like we had all these rumors like seemingly every month of every year. It was like, oh, Disney's planning to make a Kenobi show, and then nothing would come of it.
Or it's like Disney's secretly in production right now.
Yeah.
It's like no way.
Yeah, and everybody get excited, and it just felt like such a no-brainer to do that because everyone wanted it. Why aren't they doing it? And then like it was literally like 3 or 4 years of speculation, of rumors, and then finally they announced it last year, I think. So I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be. I just keep thinking of like, you know, the joy of seeing Luke Skywalker again on screen, Mandalorian finale, like that times 1,000 is how I'm gonna feel when I see
seeing the big dad.
Yeah, when I see Obi-Wan and Anakin again, I don't think my body will be able to physically handle like that amount of joy. Like I actually am concerned for the levels of excitement that I'm going to experience, but it's fine. It's fine.
Like I have a couple of friends who Qui-Gon's their favorite, and I just think like, why? You know, like he's an awesome character, but like I don't think there's enough there for you to kind of not want Obi-Wan or Anakin more.
Yeah. Well, I think this, like we've been saying, like there's a lot of wisdom that Qui-Gon probably has, and like as the OG Force Ghost, and like
Great Jedi,
the stuff that he could potentially share with Obi-Wan to be like, listen, like this is the prophecy, blah blah blah. Like, I feel like that could totally be like the amount of wisdom that Qui-Gon has that we don't see in his lone film, The Phantom Menace. Like that for me, like he is one of my I am part of the club that like firmly believes that if he had survived, like none of this would have happened. I feel like we talked about this before, Alex, but like I truly believe like if he had been the one to train Anakin, like things might have gone differently or been different, or the outcome might have been slightly different. But
what if he decided to go like Dooku's route though, and then Anakin becomes evil regardless, and then he's the one to end the Jedi Order the same exact way, like
maybe.
what if, like you know what I mean, like because like Dooku in a way didn't want, he kind of renounced the Sith, but he was kind of playing chess with himself the same way Palpatine was. So I think because they were too busy playing chess against each other, neither of them kind of saw what was happening, and then Palpatine just made the move. I honestly feel like Qui-Gon, being a great Jedi, I don't think he'd ever go as extreme as Dooku, but I mean, I wouldn't doubt the idea that he would manipulate Anakin into thinking that they're just a bunch of cultists that really have lost their way and they need to be finished or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think that would be a very interesting kind of outlook on what would have happened if Qui-Gon. I don't know. Zach, are you making that video?
I don't know, because like everybody's done that. Like I get it requested a lot, but like so many people have done a what if Qui-Gon didn't die, and it's always like Kat said, like none of this ever happens and everything usually turns out okay. Because I think that Qui-Gon would never do what Dooku did, because Dooku was too political. He had like he was
That's
a political
true.
idealist, not a murderer. But Qui-Gon didn't care about that. Qui-Gon was a servant of the Force through and through, and I feel like he would have never gone to Qui-Gon or to Dooku's level. So yeah, that's what I think about. But another interesting thing that I think Kat brought up was like, yeah, Dooku. I mean, Qui-Gon was only in one film. There's so much I want to know about like what he thinks. Like I want to know what he thinks about Dooku. I want to know what he thinks about the Jedi specifically. Like there's all these things that I want to know about Qui-Gon that we just don't know, because he's only been in a few episodes of the Clone Wars and episode 1 of the saga. So that would also be a bonus of having him in the Obi-Wan series, is we'd get to hear more of what he thinks.
100%. There's so much untapped wisdom. Like, oh, I just love him. I would love that if we, I guess, see him or hear him, not see him in the series. Because I think also, I literally saw those rumors that Qui-Gon was rumored to return to the Kenobi series. And then I saw the literal next day that Liam Neeson apparently is planning to retire from action movies, and I was like, well, I guess he doesn't want to do an action TV show.
He's gonna do rom-coms now instead.
Yeah. So I saw that and I was like, does this mean he's not coming back to do a Star Wars TV show? Is that too?
I didn't read that article where he said that he would come back as Qui-Gon. Is that factual, or is that just a headline for clicks? I didn't actually read that. Did you guys see that?
I didn't read it either. I'm pretty sure it's factual.
Okay.
Because I think he knows it wouldn't be like a physically demanding role. Like it would likely just be his voice.
Yeah.
And he seemed to have liked it regardless.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't critically well received, he seemed to enjoy playing the character and everything. So.
I don't think it was like an awful movie. I just don't know. Like, I don't know. I felt that it was always like the odd one out of the trilogy. Like, it's just so disconnected from the other two, because like I think 10 years between
it's filmed very differently too.
Yeah, and it's just like the story itself isn't super. I guess like you can debate whether it's significant or not. Like obviously the Duel of the Fates was significant, but like in terms of like scale, it's not on the same scale as the other two, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, he did seem to enjoy playing Qui-Gon, and I mean he came back for the Clone Wars, an animated TV show, so I'm sure he would come back for live action Kenobi series, and he'll probably get paid.
Yeah, or just don't put him in at all. There's no way he could do it without his voice.
Yeah,
just one of those things.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about video games now because it seems like EA has lost the exclusivity because it was announced that Ubisoft is gonna make an open world Star Wars game, which I love open world games,
which we're gonna be streaming for sure.
Oh yeah.
But what do you guys think about that? All these possibilities of new Star Wars games that aren't going to be made by EA.
Yeah, I'm hype. I've just, not that I'm like a huge gamer. In fact, I'm probably like the least qualified person to touch on this subject, but like we've just started getting into like the Assassin's Creed games, and I'm like, this is amazing. This would be incredible as like Star Wars, and we're playing through it, and we're like, imagine if this was like Star Wars. And then that news dropped, and it just like feels good, too good to be true. Like, I think that would just be incredible. I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to whoever, whatever else picks up a Star Wars game and then tries to, do something new. But yeah, I think open world, I will play like any Star Wars game. Like whatever they like come out with, it's the equivalent mindset to like the films or like movies. Like I'm gonna watch it even if I'm not like 1,000% excited for it. Like it's Star Wars, it's content. I'm gonna take it in and like, see how I feel. So same applies for the games. It's like, you know what, like even if I'm not even over the top excited, like I will still 99.9% probably end up playing it. So
yeah, I don't really play open world games, but I have the one particular one that I have played. I don't even know if it's necessarily open world. Is BioShock an open world game?
I've never played.
Is that considered?
Never
okay.
Played it.
It's more of like it's pretty RPG or whatever. I don't really game except for StarCraft, as you know, Zach. It was one of those like it's all about the ambiance of the atmosphere, and it was like more of like a survival game. Right. And I was playing that, and it's more like, there's so many different ways to win, and you search around whatever, like that of an open world game. And I was also thinking, I was like, I don't know if that's possible in Star Wars, but I think the most important thing for that game is the the ambiance of the world and the surrounding. Like I think that like if you can give it like I think Cyberpunk is a good example for how it should look aside from all the glitches and everything. Like the fact that they were able to kind of immerse you in like a new world is what Star Wars needs to do. Like they need to mix the old with the new and make it look like, oh, this feels weirdly familiar, but it's also like so much newer looking, or it's something, I think that's obviously really hard to do in an open world, considering how high the budget would probably be, considering what all the different worlds and everything in general, which kind of makes it, I think, hard to be perfect in all aspects of it. I think if it was more like an RPG or an open world than kind of one set location, that would probably make it more easier to provide, extremely high quality and not have to wait 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have, an expert opinion on open world in that regard. So, me saying I wish it was kind of more not linear, but smaller in scale so that it just looks perfect, would be good for me, considering how fast all these companies are and how hard all these companies are on the developers to push games out as fast as possible and not give them creative control necessarily to provide the greatest products, more an assembly line. I don't know if Ubisoft is like that. I don't know if Ubisoft is just really good at creating games really fast and retaining quality. But yeah, I just think that it's good news, obviously, but I hope that it's not really disappointing.
Yeah. You raised a good point, though, that how expansive it is. Like, would it be, and this could be my lack of video game production expertise showing, so feel free to like be like, you idiot, but would it with something
I don't think
like
we know shit either.
With something like Star Wars, though, would it be like too, you pointed out, like Alex, like it's so expansive, like would it be limited to just one planet or like multiple, or like would you be able to travel to like different planets, or would the maps just be consolidated on one. That's why I'm like, is that too much to ask for? Like,
yeah, and like, how do you retain quality in that regard? Like, how can you
Yeah.
make something as big as Star Wars and some planets especially? I
Yeah.
mean, I know you can compare it to Fallen Order, but I don't know. It like Fallen Order was good, but there's a lot of things in there that are kind of like it's not necessarily like that of like, you know, an open world
No, yeah,
RPG game.
I don't
You know,
consider that
it's pretty linear in that regard, you know, and I think that's why they were able to provide so many different like world jumping. It's more like a Ratchet and Clank game, if you guys have ever played that, or like Jack and Daxter or whatever. It's more like
love Jack and Daxter.
Yeah, it's more like that. I mean, it's kind of open world, but there's still objectives that you do and
Yeah.
whatever. But in this regard, I think it's literally going to be like Cyberpunk. They're going to try to follow that trend and hopefully not mess up like that. But I think that to retain quality in Star Wars, like I think things need to be perfect or otherwise people are going to hate it. So I think that if they limit what they have and maybe it's like free DLC down the road or something, or maybe paid DLC depending on how insane it is, would kind of make it so on launch it's kind of everything you expected and not overstretching their boundaries and not sacrificing quality for quantity. That's all I have to say on that.
Have you heard of the Outer Worlds, the game The Outer Worlds? It came out 2019. It's made by Obsidian, and they worked on Knights of the Old Republic 2, but I think that they could take a similar approach to that game, where it's like it's a space game and it's open world, but it's more of in the sense like there are planets that you can go to, and those planets are like one city, and that city's open world, and there's like an area around the city. And they're like cells that are open, but it's not like a true like a Skyrim where it's like you can go anywhere on the map, because it's tricky because Star Wars is in space, so you'd have to like fly your ship to planet, and that would probably be way too much for them to create like a whole galaxy. So you could probably just go into your ship, select a planet, fly to that planet, and then there's like an area that's open.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what Knights of the Old Republic did, but I would want it to be a little more open than that.
Have you played the new Assassin's Creed?
I have not.
Oh, okay, neither have I. I was hoping you did. I wanted to see what you thought about it, because I know that the past couple of Assassin's Creed games have been lacking in quality and a lot of bugs and everything.
Yeah.
And that's just, you know, a city for the most part. Like one was in France about the French Revolution. You're kind of in one area. So for them to kind of take on like the I've you know constantly said, the expansive universe of Star Wars, and to have multiple planets, if for that matter, how are they gonna approach it without it taking like years, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like I think if you announce something now and you can't release it like 5-6 years down the road, I think that's kind of a problem.
like Cyberpunk, like they announced it, like 2013. That's why I'm okay with waiting for a amazing open world Star Wars game. If they need 4 years, 5 years, that's fine. Just don't give us too many details to like overhype it to make us like impatient. Just say like unannounced open world Star Wars game, and no details until like a year before it launches. I'm fine with that. Like I just want quality over quantity. I'm glad that there are going to be more studios that are going to have opportunities to make Star Wars games. It was just, I feel like that's the right decision, like from a business standpoint and from a consumer standpoint.